So let's talk about some things that will get you in trouble with your Toyota Tacoma. These are mods and accessories or additions you can add that actually are against the law. And you need to be aware of these things, I think, in case you ever get pulled over for something. And all of these, most of them, I think, would probably be a secondary offense. We're going to go a different way here. Would probably be a secondary offense. So if you get pulled over for speeding or something like that, a tail light out, they can get you on these things too. So number one, and I've been hearing about this on the channel lately from folks that I guess don't like the mod, and that is wheel poke. I'm talking about when your tire or your wheel sticks out. Of course, if your wheel sticks out, that means your tire sticks out, right? I think there are probably a lot of municipalities, I don't know if it's a statewide thing or what, but I know there's a lot of areas that do have laws about that your tire cannot stick out such and such inches or whatever outside of your fender. Now, is this a good law? Yeah, I think it's a great law for the people behind you. I've been behind vehicles before. You get stuff thrown up at you, which can happen no matter what, to be honest, but it does increase the chances, of course, if you've got nothing blocking stones and things that can fly out of your tires while you're driving down the road. So, I do believe it is a good law. Is it one that I follow? Well, obviously not, because I have wheel poke. It's not a ton, but my tires do stick out of the fenders. It is against the law. They could write you up for it. They could fine you for it. Most times that I've seen anybody, and it's very rare, but anybody get into any kind of trouble for it, they usually issue a fix-it ticket, if you will. In other words, you've got to put fender flares on or change your wheel setup. You have to do something to fix it so that it isn't there anymore. Pretty expensive fix if you've got to replace your wheels. I would probably just put fender flares on, bigger fender flares than what I already have. Number two, exhausts. You know, there's been a lot coming up on the channel about exhaust. You should put a louder exhaust on. I get questions, you know, what kind of exhaust can you put on? Well, first of all, let me say there is no good exhaust for a four-cylinder turbo. I mean, if you put anything on, it's probably going to sound like some kind of a tin can or something. I don't know, but I've never heard anything on a four-cylinder that sounds good. You know, you run into a lot of the little hot hatch type cars, right? You know, the kids are driving them. They put these tin canny sounding exhausts on them and then speed and fly around all over the place. It doesn't sound good. The only exhaust for me, I think, that sounds good, I'll go back to the older Mustang GTs. They had a nice, throaty, bass kind of deep exhaust. Chargers, Challengers, Corvettes, all those kind of vehicles. That sounds good. Of course, they're not running four-cylinder turbos. You're never going to get it. Now, it can get you in trouble. If you do put something on that's too loud, most communities have sound ordinances. You can get a ticket for that. Again, probably going to get a fix-it type ticket where you have to do something to lower the decibel level and then bring the car in or show the court that you've done what you're supposed to do. Typically, by the way, with those, they do give you some sort of a time frame that you have to have it done. Number three, and this kind of goes along with the loud exhaust thing a little bit, I guess, and that is the cat delete, the catalytic converter delete. I don't know that it's real common with the Tacoma, but I do hear people doing it. Of course, the catalytic converter there is for a reason. It's for emissions. If you live in a state where you have to do inspections, you're not going to pass. If you take your car or truck in and you don't have the catalytic converter on it, they're going to fail you. If you get pulled over and you have a very enthusiastic officer and for some reason they happen to be looking under your car, I don't know, maybe have one of those long sticks with a mirror on it like they do at the borders, who knows. But you're going to get, again, probably a fix-it ticket. You could get a fine. You could get a fine on any of these that I mentioned. It also could be fix-it tickets, so it's going to cost you money in the end. Is it really worth it to remove the cat? I don't know. I wouldn't do it. It's not something that I think really makes that big of a difference, and probably only really applies more to if you're racing or something. And how many people out there are racing Toyota Tacomas? I can't imagine a lot. Next up, number 4, your lift. There is a limit, not really because of the height of the truck itself, but where the bumpers fall. You know, if somebody rear ends you, for example, and your truck is lifted high and they end up going underneath your truck, that's a problem. There's a reason for this law, and again, it's not United States wide, I don't think, but I know there are a lot of communities that have it. There is a certain number of inches that your bumper cannot exceed. Well, obviously, if you lift your truck 2 feet, you're going to have a problem. So you need to be aware of that. It's not something that I hear being enforced very frequently. As a matter of fact, where I'm at here in South Texas, I see a lot of trucks driving around that definitely do not comply. But it is something else where you could get fined for it, or again, get another one of these fix-it tickets, where in essence, you either got to come up with some sort of a lower bumper, and I have seen people do that. If you've ever been behind a truck and you see a bumper that looks like it's really out of place, it's kind of comes out and then goes down, the reason they did that is to stay legal. They probably got pulled over and had some sort of a problem. Number 5, one of the most common ones, I think, and that is window tint. This, of course, depends on where you live. I know here in Texas, I believe the minimum is, or the maximum rather, is 36%, I believe, 36 or 32%. If you exceed that, obviously you can get a ticket. Now, they did have inspections where I live here. Fortunately, they have stopped having them. They're gone. No more inspections beginning in 2025 in my community. I like that. That means I can go with my 20% that I typically go with and not have to worry about taking it in and failing the inspection, which I did happen, or have happened once, with a Jeep Gladiator. I was at 20%. I took it in and they decided to put their little meter on it, and it came back at 20%, well below the minimum, or maximum I should say, and they would not pass my vehicle, so I had them rip it off. Of course they charged me for it. There is some reason that they would be interested in enforcing it themselves back when we had inspections, because they can make some money, right? And they did, and I paid them. I didn't have any choice. A little caveat to that, I did know I was breaking the law. It wasn't a surprise to me, so the fact that I had to take it off, that I got caught, I didn't argue about it or anything. There was no reason to. I knew it to begin with. Lastly, this is kind of a crazy one, but I have heard this happen more so than some of the others, and that is the sound system. You know, I get a lot of people asking about if you replace this speaker or that speaker, or put an amp in it or a subwoofer. Putting one in itself is not really the problem. The problem is how you use it. This goes back to sound ordinances. Again, a lot of communities have sound ordinances. And if you're like me and you had a kick-ass stereo system in the truck, probably going to be cranking it up driving around, right? I mean, I would be jamming to the 80s metal. But anyway, it is a problem. It is something that you can get fined for, and they're not going to issue a fix-it ticket for that. They're going to fine you if, again, you get a police officer that is motivated to do such. Anyway, I just wanted to get on. These are a few problems you could run into with the Toyota Tacoma, particularly mods that you might not have thought of could cause you problems if you add them. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've ever been affected by any of these things. In other words, have you ever gotten a ticket, either a fix-it or a fine, for any of those things? I'd be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.